So I'm going to caveat up front, the comedy genre is not one of my favorite genres of movies to watch. I think that's just been a combination over the years of there just haven't been very many good comedy films over the past 10 years, and just me in general getting older. I feel like I've pretty much heard all the jokes that you could possibly hear in movies. But with that being said, I thought they did as good of a job as one can do in doing a legacy sequel to a very famous comedy film. The original Naked Gun is one of my personal favorite comedy films that I watched when I was younger. My dad showed it to me. I was actually fortunate enough to take my dad to this legacy sequel last night with me, and it was an awesome experience being able to take him to a packed theater and watching it together. I didn't find this movie particularly hysterical. It wasn't laugh out loud funny to me. But the audience that we were with, again, this was a packed house in theater, was pretty hysterical throughout the entire movie. At least every couple minutes, you heard a bunch of people laughing throughout the movie, and at least every kind of 5 to 10 minutes, there'd be a loud hysterical laugh pretty much from the entire theater. So in regards to the theatrical experience, this was probably one of my favorite movies to see in theater this year, just because of how fun it was being with the crowd with this one. And this is why I also champion the theatrical experience over, say, waiting for these movies to stream, because if I watched this movie by myself at home on Netflix, or even with my wife or some friends, I don't think I would have gotten that much out of this movie. Kind of similar to how I didn't get much out of Happy Gilmore 2. I watched it by myself on Netflix. But because I did see this movie in theater, again, my memory and my experience of it was completely elevated just because of how excited the audience was to see this movie and how much they were laughing together. So I definitely recommend, if you liked the original Naked Gun, if this is a movie you've been wanting to see, or if you just wanted to see a good comedy in general, go try to see this while it is in theaters, while there is still packed crowds in there, because I personally think it'll definitely elevate your experience seeing this movie. And I actually ran into my mom this morning at the farmer's market, and she kind of whispered to me some thoughts that my dad had after seeing the movie last night. He didn't tell this to me last night, but I think after he kind of thought about it as well, he told it to her. And it kind of wrapped up how I felt in regards to this movie, because again, I didn't find it overly hysterical, but the crowd did make it feel a lot better. My dad said pretty much that if he didn't see the original one, he thinks he would have liked this movie better. And I agree, because again, back to kind of my comments of just me being older, when you've kind of heard all of the jokes before and you're used to the Naked Gun style parody humor, the deadpan comedy humor style, you kind of know what the types of jokes are before going into the movie, so they don't land as well as they did with the original one. And again, that's not necessarily the legacy sequel's fault. That's just how it is when you experience these types of movies, especially comedies, again and again and again. It loses its luster on these jokes a little bit. So I actually think people who haven't seen the original Naked Guns, and if they see it in theater, could get a little bit more out of this new movie than per se someone like me who has seen the original so many times. And I thought both Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson were perfectly casted. I thought they had great chemistry in this one. I thought Liam Neeson in particular, I'm kind of picturing his old Taken character, and it's kind of why it works so well. And Leslie Nielsen explained this a while back on an interview with Conan, I believe, when explaining how they made the Naked Gun movies. With deadpan humor, you have to act as an actor, in Liam Neeson's sense and Leslie Nielsen's sense in the old movies. You have to act completely serious, like you're not doing a comedy movie, to make this work, because the comedy parts are so obvious that the audience obviously gets that it's a joke, but it lands better because the actors and actresses are pretending like this is a normal movie, which is why the humor in the comedy ends up working. And for instance, what I mean by that, just a little example, in these types of movies, they use mannequins as essentially dead bodies. So you as the audience know as like this person's getting shot up and it's obviously a mannequin, so it looks just absolutely ridiculous. So it's funny to you because obviously the ridiculousness to it, but the actor's acting completely serious. And again, I thought Liam Neeson was the perfect actor for this kind of role. And I thought, again, Pamela Anderson, I thought she did a really good job in this. Their chemistry was really good. And they even do spoof some movies a little bit. My favorite one, they pulled a Mission Impossible spoof. It's actually one of my favorite Mission Impossible scenes in the entire series. So I knew kind of where they were going before they even did the scene, and they executed it really well, in my opinion. That was probably the funniest bit for me in the entire movie. So there definitely is still some laughs there, even if you're used to this type of humor. If you've seen the Naked Gun before, I still think you can get some laughs out of this one. And my biggest takeaway after seeing the Naked Gun this weekend, and then Happy Gilmore 2 the weekend before it, even though I wasn't a big fan of Happy Gilmore 2, it obviously was a big hit on Netflix. I believe it was the highest rated show on Netflix in its first 3 days of release. So obviously there is a demand there for comedy films. And again, I think that's just a lot of pent up demand from people not having, or we just haven't had very many good comedy films on the menu. So we've been, anytime we get one, we're kind of rushing to see them. So although I don't think that these two movies per se were a renaissance for the genre, I do think it could be a kind of turning point for the genre, for at least studios to start looking at this genre a little bit closer, seeing that the demand is there, and putting investment money back into this genre so that we can start getting comedies again. And this is one of the best genres to see theatrically. It definitely raises the experience seeing it with a crowd that's laughing with you. So it definitely gets elevated seeing with people. So hopefully maybe that this is a sign of more comedies to come. I think that would benefit fans. I think that would benefit movie theaters. I think that would benefit the industry. So all in all, I had a pretty good time with this one. I wouldn't call this the best comedy in the world I've seen. I wouldn't even call it necessarily a great comedy. I thought they did a really good, as good of a job as they could do with a legacy sequel. It did get me to laugh a few times. The audience's reaction definitely improved my experience. I left the theater pretty happy. I had a good time with my dad. I had a great time with the audience. They definitely improved the experience for me. Again, I think if I streamed this at home, I wouldn't have got as much out of this movie as I did going to the theater. So if you want to see it, if you want to get the most out of it, I definitely recommend getting to the theater so you can experience it in the best way you possibly can. And I think this is overall a good step in the right direction for the comedy genre.